So it appears that we are online. Hello, everybody. This will be a rather short hangout. We agreed to do like 60 minutes or so. And I have here with me Naturehacker, who has made some really interesting claims about how to make gold from iron oxide. Since this kind of falls into my area of expertise, I'm going to show him why he's wrong. And without further ado, hello, Naturehacker.
Hello.
So I think the best idea to do this is to give you some minutes, like 10 minutes or so, to present your case. Is that all right for you?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay, so then just begin. Tell me when you're finished.
All right, so this all started maybe a month ago when I was watching something on TV about them finding gold in sewage. So I was thinking, now this is interesting. You know, I don't really think that many people eat gold, and you know, plants aren't big gold concentrators necessarily that we eat. So I was thinking, well, how does this happen? And could it be possible that the gold is actually produced, you know, in our bodies or in sewage or something like that? And that just got me thinking about maybe it's actually possible to make gold. So I started doing a lot of research. And so I kind of forgot about that, you know, per se. I just started doing research on how gold is found in the earth. You know, is gold made in the earth? How is gold made? You know, what the current theories are and everything. And so I kind of forgot about the gold and sewage thing for the moment. And I started finding that gold is found in very specific conditions. You know, it's basically always found with quartz. It's basically always found with iron. You know, it's basically always found with either sulfur or tellurium or selenium, I believe. Those types of elements that they're all in the same column of the periodic table. And you know, it just got me thinking that wow, this is a very specific set of circumstances where gold is found. Maybe gold is actually made with some of these as ingredients, you know, and we've definitely heard of alchemy and things like that, and that's typically thought to be mercury, because mercury is very close to gold on the periodic table. So we're like, okay, well, if we can remove a proton, I believe we can convert mercury into gold. So that's typically the thought. But you know, I'm seeing these elements like quartz, or you know, compounds like quartz or an iron and you know, sulfur and things like that found together with gold all the time. So I'm thinking, well, maybe these are the things that gold could be made out of. So you know, and looking at the theories, you know, a lot like the new theory is now that gold can only be made when neutron stars, which are a very rare thing, neutron stars collide. That's where all the gold comes from. And that just seems very, very unlikely to me, that all the gold in the universe is from neutron stars colliding. And, you know, obviously we have a lot of heavy elements. So, you know, is neutron stars colliding the only way these heavy elements are created? I don't think so. So, you know, doing all that research and then coming up with an idea of, okay, maybe gold is created from, I don't know how I came up with this idea, but the idea was that electricity could create it, and that these very strong, so H2S, hydrogen sulfide, and H2TE, hydrogen telluride, come up in earthquakes. And we also know that gold is really found around earthquake zones. You know, like California has really rich gold deposits. Obviously, there's a lot of earthquakes there. It's just a common fact that, you know, gold is found in earthquake areas. So one other thing that's found a lot in earthquake areas is hydrogen sulfide gas, you know, or sometimes even hydrogen telluride gas. And that, you know, obviously these are the things that create sulfide minerals, telluride minerals. So the thought is that, okay, let's say that there's some iron oxide trapped in quartz, which is very common to happen. Then this, in an earthquake, hydrogen sulfide gas would rush by. This gas is a strong reducing agent, which is like an electron donor. And also, especially when it reacts with sodium, you know, in the form of like sodium hydroxide or sodium oxide or something like that, it will create HS or SH, which is a very, very strong reducing agent. So I'm like, well, if we have a lot of this gas rushing by this quartz, and the quartz could have a lot of sodium in it, especially in California, the quartz has a lot of sodium in it, we can create a very strong electric charge in the quartz, which would transfer to the hematite, the iron oxide inside the quartz, and hopefully convert it into gold. So that was the thought. And then, so the thought is basically that the sulfide or telluride is acting as a reducing agent to convert iron into gold. Now, the question was, well, how exactly would that happen? How exactly would the gold, turn into, or sorry, the iron turn into gold, and why would it have to be an oxide of iron? Because we see a lot of gold miners will say the redder the better, which means that the more hematite in the quartz, the better, the better it is as an ore for gold. So, the thought would be that hematite is needed in order for this process to create gold. And so one of the mechanisms I came up with that could explain it would be oxygen vacancies in the iron oxide structure. So when you have a strongly positive charge, you create oxygen vacancies, and then these vacancies will migrate to strong negative charge. And then when they're there, I'm guessing that electrons can fill the vacancies. And I'm guessing that what this can do is create a collapse of the structure of iron oxide. And it turns out, I did the math, that iron 55, which is, I guess you could say, a rare isotope of iron, but it's something that's created by the very common isotopes of iron like 54 and 56 are hit with neutron radiation, they turn into 55. Very strangely, iron 56 goes to 57, then decays to 55. Iron 54 gains to iron 55. So radiation, is also found in earthquakes a lot. So radiation can cause iron to turn into iron 55. And if you take 3 iron 55s, which is the structure of iron oxide, to a good degree, the structure of iron oxide, you take 3 of those and 2 oxygens, the theory is that that vacancy will cause an implosion, and those 3 atoms will combine into gold, and they add up to create the molecular weight of gold. Now, once, at some point I thought back to the original idea of the, gold in sewage, and I realized that there's a lot of hydrogen sulfide in sewage. So I'm thinking maybe the gold is actually being made in sewage, and it's from the hydrogen sulfide producing microbes that are actually doing it. So anyway, that's pretty much my thought process on it. So, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So my suggestion is, first of all, I can hear my echo. Can you maybe turn your speakers a little more silent?
Yeah, I'm turning down. There?
All right. So I can still hear myself. That's annoying.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me try to get headphones. You there?
Yeah. Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, great.
So my suggestion is that we go through the list of the claims that you've made and discuss every single one of them, if we find the time for everything. Okay. So you started with the point that gold is found in sewage, and therefore it should somehow be produced in sewage. That is a non sequitur. Just because the gold is there doesn't mean that it is produced there. For example, yeah, gold, for example, could end up in sewage, for example, with electronic trash, because gold is widely used in electronic materials, computers, smartphones, monitors, you name it, whatever.
Well, then they would be going for dumps, not necessarily sewage. Dumps is where electronic garbage would be.
Yeah, mainly, but first of all, I don't know the amount of gold that you're claiming is found in sewage. So if it's only trace material, then...
Well, what they find is it's a low-level gold mine, is what they call it. Like the amount of gold in sewage would be considered a gold mine. a low level.
Do you know the concentrations approximately?
You can Google it. Just Google like golden sewage. There's been a lot of articles on it and stuff.
Okay. So again, as said, I don't think that just because the gold is found in there, that doesn't mean that it is produced there. So
Right.
can you actually
That's
show that?
just what got me thinking.
All right. So then we'll just skip that, or do you want to elaborate more on that point?
Yeah, I mean, that was basically just what got me thinking about it. It didn't quite make sense to me that there would necessarily be all that golden sewage. That's why I thought that's one dot, to connect, I would think, but not necessarily proof in and of itself, obviously.
All right. Then, so your main claim is that there's a reaction that you can perform, which involves the hydrogen sulfide, the quartz crystal, plus the iron oxide. And the main problem that I have with it is that what this comes down to is that the chemical environment of the iron atoms and the oxygen atoms somehow influences the reactions of the nuclei themselves.
Right.
The problem is that if that were the case, if the chemical environment of substances would influence the reactions of the nuclei, then we would already be able to use these properties to get rid of our nuclear waste, for example. Because we would be able to manipulate the nuclear waste in a chemical way and increase or decrease the amount of radiation emitted by it. And that has never been observed. So that's actually quite a bold claim to make, which you actually have to really provide some hard evidence for. And I don't see any yet.
Well, the mechanism, the somewhat established mechanism of kind of chemically induced nuclear reactions would be the creation of neutrons from protons and electrons.
Yeah, but you can't do that chemically. That's not a chemical reaction. What chemistry deals with is only the electrons around the nuclei. For a chemist, the nucleus itself is completely irrelevant. It could be a single particle with a defined charge. That's not a chemical reaction. That's a nuclear physical reaction. But that's just a terminology thing.
Whatever you would want to call it. I mean, the nucleus.
Yeah, that's not only me. That's the scientific consensus calling it. So
we're
using the wrong words.
Okay, well, there is, a field called nuclear chemistry.
Yeah, but nuclear chemistry deals with the chemistry of radioactive materials. For example, how to separate different fission reactions in reactors, or how to separate.
So the whole field of chemistry is just separation of materials?
No. There's a difference between nuclear chemistry.
Chemistry
deals with
is reaction. Reactions could involve an electron and a proton. That could be a reaction.
No. What chemistry deals with is how the electrons behave. How the electrons themselves behave. The nuclei of the atoms are completely irrelevant for chemistry. Whenever you have a direct reaction, such as, for example, the proton-proton reaction, it starts.
The nucleus determines how many electrons you can have and what the orbitals and whatnot.
Sure, but they don't react directly. Everything that happens is that there's a attraction, electrostatic attraction between the two particles, but there's no direct reaction between them. For example, nuclear reactions are the ones where the nuclei react themselves. In chemistry, there are no nuclei that react. The nuclei don't do anything. They can be seen as static.
In conventional chemistry, sure, but I mean, if you want to define chemistry as that which is not nuclear, then fine, it's physics then. But I mean,
yeah, it's
I don't
physics,
really.
That's my point, because in your videos you mix up nuclear chemistry and nuclear reactions. They are two different things.
Well, the thought is cold fusion. I don't necessarily want to open up a whole can of worms of cold fusion, but cold fusion would be like chemical nuclear reactions, whereas hot fusion would be like physics, high temperature physics. But I don't know how much it matters with the terminology we use, but
it ends up as physics anyways. Regarding cold fusion, what basically happens is that At least that was the claim, that the chemical environment of, I think it was metal hydrides, would influence or would induce fusion reactions. The point is that this has been shown to be not working. So,
well, that's still under debate. I mean, there's definitely a lot of scientists. There's been one whistleblower from MIT who said that their claim that they disproved it was actually false, that, you know, they actually did have some evidence to support it that was covered up. So there's definitely ongoing discussion.
Well, there was I think it all started in the late 80s or in the 90s, when there was a paper published claiming that cold fusion would work, which was later shown by other work groups that the original experiment wasn't repeatable, and the article was eventually retracted. So that is basically the equivalent of being shown not to happen.
There definitely have groups that have had a positive, you know, have a positive supporting evidence, and you can look that up online. There's been a 60 Minutes interview with people, with like real scientists who were shown the evidence of, you know, an Israeli company who's claiming to do cold fusion, and they were convinced that it is happening.
Did they actually publish it?
There's
because
a 60 Minute
they can do interviews as long as they want. When they don't publish it, then it's practically useless. Whatever they say is useless unless it's published.
There's a lot of published data of cold fusion.
Can you show one example? In a peer-reviewed scientific journal?
Sure. Yeah, I have examples. I don't know how you want me to go about showing that.
Do you have the link to the article?
I mean, I could find something here. Let's see. I think the claim would be.
By the way, do you claim conspiracy, that there's a conspiracy going on to cover up cold fusion? Because that's the impression I'm getting.
I could definitely see that could definitely be a possibility. The motive would be because the people performing hot fusion are getting billions of dollars in funding from the government, and if there's a cold, easier way to do it, then that revenue would be in jeopardy. So I could definitely see that some institutions or professors would want to stop research into cold fusion, which they effectively did.
Yeah, but the question is, the funding doesn't end to the most part in the pockets of the scientists working on it. It ends in the equipment. I don't really understand.
It's the salaries, it's the research money, the grants.
Salaries, but the most part directly goes into the materials needed, such as the reactor itself. For example, when talking about how's it called, the ITER in southern France, that thing literally costs billions. The magnetic coils alone cost billions.
Right.
So the salaries themselves are rather small part of the money that is needed.
Right. And, you know, I've worked in science, and a big part of getting grants and stuff is to basically, you have to prove to the agency that this is the only way that you can do the research. Like, I worked in animal research, and we used rats, and we had to prove that we couldn't do that research in a lower organism. So, you know, if cold fusion is a possibility, a potentiality, then it would be much more difficult for them to justify the need for such expensive equipment when something cheaper and easier could be done. So I could see how it could be a conspiracy to cover it up. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I just wanted to have that cleared up.
Right.
Okay. So could you please describe the experiment that you're planning to do on the mechanics? What kind of reactor are you going to use? What sort of, first of all, how are you going to show that the results that maybe you think you get gold as a result? How do you prove it?
Right.
What amounts of starting materials do you use, etc.?
Well, yeah, it's what I would like to do is, you know, obviously have an experiment, send a sample of pre-experiment to get analyzed for gold, and send an experiment a sample post-experiment to get analyzed, see if there's any extra gold in it. It just turns out difficult to do that. What I've been trying to do lately is actually extract the gold on my own, but you know, it's obviously pretty crude. Just do an acid extraction and then a precipitation with SMB or oxalic acid. I haven't gotten any gold And I mean, if there's very small amounts, it's unlikely I would recover any.
Yeah, I think the best way you can actually test for gold in this case, even for small amounts, is to use a mass spectrometer,
Right.
because that will directly show you the gold, even the different isotopes, if you may get it.
Excellent. Yeah. Right.
So that's quite an easy way to do it.
Once I feel like I have an experiment that has a lot of potential, then I will definitely try to submit something for mass spectrometry. But what I'm trying to do right now, I got this little radiation detector. It's gamma and neutron. It's Radiac. So I'm trying to see if, like, any of my experiments, I can get any noticeable radiation coming off of it. If I notice a lot of radiation, then that would be promising for me that maybe something's working, and then I would, benefit from getting it analyzed. So, my present experiments have just been doing electrolysis, kind of like the, somewhat similar to the cold fusion method.
What has electrolysis to do with the other experiment that you proposed? Where's the connection?
Well, okay, yeah, I should probably explain that other experiment, but the thought is that electricity can create gold from iron oxide. So if we take 2 iron electrodes, one is the positive where it's got a lot of rust accumulating, iron oxide accumulating, then switch the polarity and then get that electrode to be negative where electrons are going to interact with that rust, that maybe we could get some gold. I thought I was getting radiation coming off of it, but with this meter, I'm not getting any radiation. So I don't think it's a very promising experiment.
Yeah, I mean, what you're proposing is practically an electrochemical cell, so that when you have an iron oxide electrode and you will apply a negative potential, you would simply end up with iron in the best case. But this is a well-known process that has been working, known since, I think, the 1800s, with the first batteries made by Volta.
Right.
So in the 200 or 250 years of doing this kind of stuff, there has never been shown anything that would indicate that there would be gold forming. Because you can simply look up the electrochemical potential of iron 2 oxide and iron 3 oxide towards the standard hydrogen electrode, and there's no mentioning of anything ever. These are well-known processes, and you claim that there's something wrong with them, or there's something that
I'm not saying
already covered about them.
I'm not saying this would be the major reaction. I know chemistry too. Definitely, that would be the major reaction, is just reduction of iron oxide. But there are things called oxygen vacancies that can form in these structures. So there's possible that we could get oxygen vacancies and then fill that vacancy with an electron. It would be a very small part of the reaction.
Are you claiming that you can, inside the iron oxide crystal, you can fill vacancies where usually ions would be with electrons?
That's the possibility. That's the thought.
Do you have any evidence for that? Because as far as I'm aware, this has never been shown to be the case, except for maybe metal hydrides, because they tend to behave a little weirdly. Some transition metal hydrides tend to do something similar.
Okay. I can't think of specific, but I mean, this is all stuff that I researched, finding support in the research. So I believe that it is possible for electrons to fill vacancy. I think I read that somewhere, but
where?
I don't have that off the top of my head. Yeah.
Did you read it in any published science, or maybe?
Well, yeah, exactly. I'm always reading in published science, but yeah.
Okay, may I ask?
I'm trying to verify. I'm trying to verify my theory as I go, so I'm not getting off track. But yeah.
Just out of curiosity, where did you learn chemistry?
From university.
Chemistry from university. All right. So, what kind of degree do you have? Did you go for biology or chemistry itself?
Well, I don't really want to give specifics, but I did take up to analytical chemistry. So the only thing I didn't take, I believe, is physical chem.
Okay. So let me go back to my list of claims that you made. Yeah, right. You're claiming that these reactions producing gold are happening practically right now. Aren't you?
Well, that's the thought. It's not necessarily about me making gold as far as the claims I'm making. The claims I'm making is a theory. I'm presenting a theory that's
No, you're
based on.
presenting a hypothesis.
No, I'm not presenting a hypothesis because
Yes.
hypothesis the experiment has not been done.
No,
I'm
no. A
presenting
theory is when a theory is a thought construct that explains the
the
different
science, the
relations,
current
yeah, the science
science.
practically, but that has been already confirmed. Every claim that you've already made has not. That makes it a hypothesis, not a theory.
Well, we've been talking about these things, but in general, what I'm presenting is that my theory is that gold is made in this certain way. Okay, and I can talk more about that, the geology of it, but and
Yeah, the
the
geology is my
evidence,
question. I mean, you say that as you said that gold is deposited in, for example, earthquake areas.
right, right.
Aren't you claiming that this process of the gold formation is happening right now, or has it happened some time ago and it has stopped for some reason?
I would think that yes, it is happening right now,
All
and
right.
yeah. So
Um,
basically,
so yeah, you first.
well, basically, what I feel like I'm trying to present, at least in my first video and things, is that I'm creating a theory of how gold is made based on the geology. So I feel like my theory explains the geology at least as good, if not better, than the current theory of how gold is formed in the earth based on the geology of how it's found. So yeah, it's based on the geology, and then I'm trying to dig deeper and get to the chemistry or physics of how it's actually happening.
All right. So you claimed that iron 55 would be needed for the reaction, right?
Right, right. Mm-hmm.
If that were the case, wouldn't you then expect iron 55 to be at least found in traces at relatively fresh gold deposits? Because iron 55 has a half-life of about 2 years.
Right.
That makes it really rare, even if there would be some sort of neutron radiation coming in, which I don't think is the case.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
do
you have any
has been,
evidence of iron 55 occurring in nature in the proximity of gold deposits?
I don't have any direct evidence of that. I
Maybe the
don't know whether
traces,
or not I would predict that.
Maybe one evidence would, for example, be the abundance of the decay product of iron 55, which I think is manganese 55, inside iron oxide crystals that are found close to gold deposits.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, is there?
Yeah, I mean,
The
if
question is,
manganese 55.
manganese. The problem with manganese 55 is that it's the only stable isotope of manganese. So
Okay.
whenever you have manganese, you will have manganese 55. So you really can't do any isotopical analysis
Well, you could look
because
at maybe if there's a relative extra abundance of 55 in relation to the other isotopes. That could be.
yeah, there are no other isotopes for long half-lives.
Oh, right.
That's the problem.
That's true. Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been able to make a bunch of predictions and verify them in the science. Like, for example, if this is the case, we would see a lot of mercury being created in the same process, because if iron 56, I believe, is used instead of 55, we would end up with mercury. And it does turn out that mercury is one of the biggest contaminants in gold, and that, you can look it up.
That is not surprising. I mean, first of all, mercury in its elemental form is a liquid, so other metals such as the precious metal gold, iridium, platinum, so on and so forth, would tend to solve in mercury. And then as the mercury vapor pressure is even quite high at room temperature, you would slowly get rid of the mercury. So the position of that stuff is not unexpected, at least in my opinion.
Right. But just that plus all of these other factors, it does seem hard to explain that gold would just be randomly found with quartz and iron and
not
sulfur.
Really. I mean, quartz is nothing but silicon dioxide. It's more or less the most abundant substance on the surface of the planet.
Okay, well, major quartz deposits.
Oxygen is the most abundant element in the Earth's crust, and I think silicon is either the second or the third one. So there's so the probability that even that you find silicon dioxide, also known as quartz, in the proximity of gold deposits is high anyways. And I don't see any point how you can differentiate between a random occurrence and the two things being connected.
Well, it is well known though that like quartz deposits are definitely places to look for gold, especially in conjunction with iron. I mean, it's not, you wouldn't look for, manganese in those conditions necessarily, but that is, I mean, it is well known. And there's been a lot of theories as to why that is. People saying that gold is found in the vapor phase of magma, and that
in the vapor phase.
Yeah, which I don't really.
What do you mean
understand.
by vapor phase? I mean, it's a liquid. It doesn't have a vapor phase.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is their theory. This is the mainstream theory of how gold is deposited where it is. So
Maybe I think you're mixing something up there, because I've never actually heard the term vapor phase in case of magma.
yeah, well, I mean, just above the magma and the vapor, I guess, but that's how it gets up into the nooks and crannies of the crystals with the iron, with the quartz and the iron and things like that. But
all right, so an important question that I would really like to have an answer for is where do you think the energy comes from? Because you know that iron has the most stable nucleus at all, meaning that every nuclear reaction yielding atoms with higher atomic numbers than 26, which is iron, actually are endothermic. So in the reaction you're proposing, where does the energy come from?
Right. Well, the energy would come from a high voltage, talking about very high voltage. Like if you...
High voltage. But in the original experiment that you proposed, everything you did was...
chemical.
Was chemical, right.
Right.
So do you discard that experiment at all, or do you have...
No.
Then why are you saying that the energy must come from electricity? Because if you're doing that experiment and you expect it to yield gold, you would have to have the energy coming from a chemical process. And chemical processes are simply too weak to do that.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, piezoelectricity can yield very high voltages, and that's known to be in quartz. So that's the thought, is that
voltages and energy are two different things.
Well, voltage.
Do you know how much? Do you know how much energy it approximately needs for a nuclear reaction of that type? Because you can simply look up the binding energies of different nuclei in the table. That is widely known. And
okay, that's good. I will definitely look that up.
Simply add up everything, and you will end up with a few mega electron volts, maybe more per per particle, per neutron or per proton. And that's, I think, about 10 or 20,000 times more than is needed for a chemical process.
Right.
So the chemical process simply can't do that.
Well, I mean, it depends on how you define a chemical process. I mean, this is my theory of how the voltage gets created, and that's the rushing by of the hydrogen sulfide gas basically charging up a quartz crystal.
Yeah, and I understand your hypothesis, but the problem is that the energy simply doesn't add up. You can't do it at all. I
think it could get up to about...
If you claimed it to be stoichiometrically correct, that would be even worse.
Well, I mean, a crystal can build up charge. We know that, like, in its piezoelectricity. So if there's a large volume of strong reducing agent like hydrogen sulfide rushing by the crystal, in theory, it could charge the crystal, maybe to tens of thousands of volts. I think is definitely conservative, maybe a million.
Are you sure that silicon dioxide crystals behave like piezoelectrical components? I'm not sure if that's the case.
Yeah, well, quartz crystal. Yeah, piezoelectricity, that's a good way to look it up. And in piezoelectricity, quartz crystals can generate very high voltages. So I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibility.
Yeah, I highly doubt that that's the case. So basically, in your reaction, how do you? So what you're doing is basically what I think what will happen in your reaction is basically a redox process. You will oxidize the hydrogen sulfide or the HS- ions to S2 ions, and you will reduce the iron 3 in your iron 3 oxide to iron 2. and you will therefore form FeS2, also known as pyrite, fool's gold. And how would you stop that from happening?
Well, I don't, well, how to stop it from happening would be to segregate it. So basically the quartz crystal is the iron oxide is inside the quartz crystal, so it's not able to get sulfided.
All right, so you're going to separate the two processes locally.
Right.
Now,
but that being said,
is to compare that to a battery. Because what you do in a battery is you also have two different chemical processes that are separated locally. And the charges that happen in the reduction part of the reaction are transferred to the cable to the other, on the side where the material is oxidized, you get the electrons and they will be transmitted through a cable or a wire to the side where the other material is reduced. So the problem is, batteries only work if you have a thing called an ion bridge. Are you aware of that?
Yes.
All right, then where's the equivalent of the ion bridge in your experiment?
Well, what this would be, it's not exactly a battery. It'd be more like a capacitor, I would think.
But no, because what you're claiming is that all the time negative charges will be transmitted from one side to another. It won't be a capacitor. If you claim that this reaction can be done all the time, so in a continuous process.
Right. Well, the way I see it is, let's say we have two quartz crystals and some iron oxide between it, and we're charging up one side of the quartz crystal. That negative charge will create a positive charge on the other side of the quartz crystal, which is attaching to the dielectric, which is the iron oxide. And then the other side of the quartz crystal that's attached to the other side of the iron oxide would develop a negative charge. So we kind of get something like that. It's more of a capacitor, I would think, than a battery.
I think you might be mixing up the polarization of crystals with actual piezoelectricity. Do you know how a piezoelectricity is defined?
I don't know. What do you mean by how it is defined?
Yeah, how is piezoelectricity defined? When you're talking
There's
about
a voltage across a crystal.
Not entirely. There's one component missing.
What is that?
Pressure.
Well, right, pressure, yeah.
Yeah, but do you have any pressure acting on your crystal in your experiment?
No, but it's not exactly a piezoelectric thing. But what I'm trying to say with the piezoelectric is that it is possible for a crystal to develop a charge differential from one side to the other. So that's what I'm going for with the piezoelectricity, is that quartz can operate in a way where it develops a strong charge across the crystal.
Yeah, but wouldn't you need a constant current through the crystal? Because once, as you claim, the electrons on the one side would react with the nuclei of the iron and the oxygen. That means that you would have to refuel it in marks from the other side with the hydrogen sulfide. So you would need a large conductivity inside the crystals, which you won't have. I actually had this argument before. Another guy was arguing that silicon dioxide would be conductive, and I said, no, it simply isn't.
It's not conductive, right? But that's the weird part about it, is that it can develop a charge across it. So something's happening. It's not a direct metallic type conductivity, but there is ionic movement. I think it's like, I don't want to say vacancies.
No, there isn't.
There's some kind of ion jumping.
Not in silicon dioxide, because silicon dioxide is compared to other kinds of crystals. It's the bonds inside the silicon dioxide are actual atomic bonds, not ionic bonds, and that makes it hard for any type of charge movement.
Well, I don't know exactly, but all I'm saying though is that the fact of piezoelectricity in quartz shows that somehow charge there can be a differential in charge from one side of the crystal to the other. I don't know exactly chemically or physically how it happens, but I know that charge.
So you're aware how conductors and non-conductors work, right?
Right.
Okay, can you explain it to me, because I think you have made a misconception about it.
Well, in a typical conductivity, you have electrons that are loosely associated with atoms. It kind of can move back and forth.
Yeah, right. Do you know why that is? Why they are able to move back and forth?
I don't remember exactly.
It's because in the crystal, in the metal, there are different energy states in which the electrons can be. And depending on whether it's a conductor or a non-conductor or a semiconductor, the energy difference between so-called valence band and the conducting band is different. In valence bands, in conductors, they're actually overlapping or very close to each other. And the more non-conducting it gets, the further apart they are. And basically, the energy difference between those two is dependent on the chemical structure, the structure of the different atoms. For example, when you have graphene, for example, which has a connected sp2 hybridized system, you will have the two energy levels quite close to each other. And in things where there are no vacant orbitals, for example, as in silicon dioxide, the band gap, as it's called, is going to be very high. So you won't have any conductivity in silicon dioxide whatsoever.
Well, then explain to me how piezoelectricity happens.
Piezoelectricity.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying that that's not the complete picture of how charge can move. That's one way it can move.
Piezoelectricity is when you apply pressure to a crystal in a particular crystal, then since the atoms will move closer to each other or further apart from each other, the distance of the energy levels is actually going to change, and that yields the effect that first of all you need very specific crystals for that, and the pressure you will apply will do that.
Right. But it still shows that charge can move in a crystal, though, if they can develop a voltage across it, which means a difference in potential.
No, the voltage will be applied by pressing on it, by applying pressure. Right. That's actually the other way around. So you don't start with the electricity, you start with the pressure. And that is what your experiment lacks.
You can do both. I mean, just talking about piezoelectricity, you can apply a voltage and it creates a strain in the material, or you can create a strain in the material and it creates a voltage. You can go either way. But to me, that shows just that charge can move in a crystal, in silicon dioxide quartz crystal. It can move. It's not conduction, obviously, but there is mechanisms for it to move.
All right. So let me just quickly go through my list. What you said that it was that if the electrons could react with the iron nuclei, you would get some sort of implosion. Can you please explain that to me?
The thought I'm having now, I'm trying to first the geology leads me to believe the gold is created in a certain way. Maybe it actually is piezoelectricity with the earthquakes. I don't know, but I'm thinking it's the hydrogen sulfide because it's always found with sulfide minerals. But anyway, so what were we going to talk about?
Implosion.
Oh, that's right. So the thought is that we're creating oxygen vacancies. This is the more chemical or physical understanding of going deeper into the geology of how it's actually happening. So I'm thinking maybe this is the case. This is not necessarily a theory at this point.
Can you just explain to me what sort of implosion you mean?
Sure. So basically there's in the structure, there's 2 irons for every 3 oxygens. So you have these oxygen atoms and iron atoms in the structure of hematite or iron oxide. So an oxygen vacancy would be basically pulling out one of those oxygens from the structure. So now it's like you have a building where a part of the building's pulled out. So in my mind, the potential is for an implosion in that part. Now, how would that implosion happen?
You actually think that removing an atom from a crystal would cause the other atoms to move closer to each other and collide? Is that what you're saying?
Possibly, because there would be, here's the thing, when you have oxygen in there, that's basically a +2 charge, I believe, something like that. So now
oxygen is -2.
-2, okay, right, the vacancy is +2.
Yeah.
So basically you have a minus charge that's being removed from the structure, now the ions could want to come together because that oxygen was basically repelling them. So that's my thought with it.
Yeah, the problem that I have with it is that it's actually really hard to get atoms, or to be more precise, the nuclei close to each other because of the Coulomb barrier. That's why nuclear reactions only work in very extreme conditions. Because, put simply, the two positively charged nuclei will repel each other. The only effect that that causes them really to collide is the uncertainty principle by Heisenberg. Are you aware of that? That the probability.
I recognize it, but I don't remember it.
You don't remember it? Okay. Yeah. It basically says that the hotter you get, the collision probability is going to be higher.
Okay. Right.
And
Right.
that is a reason why cold fusion is really unlikely, because the collision probability is more or less infinitely small at room temperatures.
Right. But this could be a whole new mechanism. And the thought would be, okay, you have that vacancy.
Do you have a mechanism for that? Can you propose one?
The vacancy? To create a vacancy?
No. How to overcome the Coulomb barrier?
That would be with the Heisenberg effect.
Yeah, how do you do that at low temperatures?
It would be a whole different mechanism. So, the mechanism would be the heat.
That's my question. Can you propose it?
The mechanism?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, is basically you create the oxygen vacancy, somehow electrons fill that vacancy, and now you get those iron atoms collapsing in on each other. You got that negative charge from the electrons.
Yeah, but
the irons come into that electron cloud, basically.
But the collapsing iron nuclei would still have to overcome the Coulomb barrier. So that's the point.
Not necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, the Coulomb barrier is a physical thing. You can measure it. You have to overcome it by
random situation.
You have to overcome it by basically, heating it up.
Right.
Having the nuclei really, first of all, very densely packed, which is why nuclear reactions, at least fusion reactions, only happen in stars, because that's the only point where the pressure and the temperature are high enough. And as I said, you also need the high temperature, because that's the only way the particles will be energy rich enough to overcome the Coulomb barrier.
Okay, right. But I mean, it's a different mechanism. Like, let me try to make an example. Like,
mechanism. Do you think that this reaction will be independent of the Coulomb barrier?
I have to look into the Coulomb barrier a little bit. But basically, as far as
in English, it's also called Coulomb wall. Maybe you know it at that name.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely would want to look into it more. But what I'm saying is that you don't necessarily need the high temperatures if instead of relying on random interactions of molecules where you need the high temperature so that they will react with enough force or whatever energy you want to call it, instead of that situation, we basically have a vice where we're cramming them together. So it would be a different parameters rather than heat needed. Like, obviously the energy will still be needed, but not necessarily in the form of heat.
That's more or less my question. How are you going to apply enough energy for the two centers to fuse to one another?
Well, it would be in the form of a very high voltage, in the order of 1,000,000 volts is where I'm going.
You mean by acceleration, because voltage itself in that case won't do anything?
Not acceleration, just as a potential. Let's say you have an extremely high potential difference. You have this extremely strong negative charge, and those positive iron ions are just going to want to collapse in on that charge.
That means acceleration, because they at the end they will have to have be at more or less the same location to react to one another.
Right.
Yeah. So you realize that the acceleration, or the energy of the individual nuclei at the end, you can convert that into the acceleration, or into the energy that is needed.
Right.
And do you have any mechanism to show that is possible in such a system?
Well, I mean, we can look at that. I don't remember what you called it. It's something I wasn't aware of specifically, and that is, the thing with the
Yeah,
nuclei.
binding energy inside
Right.
nuclei. Yeah.
So that's something good to know. Maybe that can help us, like, say, okay, we need 3 million volts for this to have the possibility of working.
Yeah, you wouldn't need
So
3 million volts. You would need so and so much electron volts.
right.
Because
Okay.
volts are a voltage and electron volts are a unit of energy.
Okay.
All
So
right.
we would have to do some conversion, but basically it would be in the form of a very high voltage. So that would where the energy would be, where the energy comes from.
Okay. Yeah, that's more or less all the questions that I had for tonight. Do you want to ask me anything, or is that all right for you? Because we are
I think
almost
that's
at
all
the
right
1
for
hour
me.
limit.
Yeah, that sounds about good.
All right. Then what I'm gonna do is, first of all, I think, do you maybe want to do this another time again when you have looked into binding energy and so forth?
Sure, we could definitely do that. Yeah, I'm pretty busy lately, but maybe
Yeah,
in
me as
a
well.
couple months or something.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan. So what I'm
All right.
going to do now is I'll open the Hangout for the other guys if they want to join. Do you want to
Okay.
stay or do you want to leave?
I'll probably get going, but
All
thank
right.
you.
So yeah, thanks for coming on, and see you then.
All right, I'll see you. Take care. Bye.
All right. So I'm going to send you the link. First of all, some of my friends. Mariah, you should already have it, but whatever. Microblog. Helsoy. Gara. And yeah, that's it. Ah, Microblog. Hello.
Yeah. How's my sound? Let me just check on the stream.
And there's some sort of cracking noise, but I think it's all right.
Yeah, let me fix that.
Okay.
How about now?
Perfect.
Good.
Yo.
Hello, Mariah.
So that was interesting. For someone who claims to have studied chemistry, he doesn't seem to actually understand it. Like
Yeah,
I have a better grasp on it than he does. And
I mean, he said that he would that he had a chemistry course in university, but he said he would have had studied until like semester 2 or something. That would be my equivalent, and everything you do is until then is learn how, at least in practical chemistry, is
but like
what?
like my chemistry knowledge for the most part is because the chemistry I had at university was basically like high school high school chemistry. It was basically
Yeah,
a brush
the
up.
first 2 semesters are more or less not more than high school chemistry.
And I was able to tell that what he was saying was bullshit. Like it doesn't take that much.
Yeah, what I was really curious about is why he thought that nuclear reactions would count as chemistry. That's literally not how chemistry is defined.
That's what I at least got from it, and so did I think a couple of others in the chat at least that what he was talking about was called fusion.
Yeah, it was.
Like
well, it would be. He's talking about turning combining elements, the nuclei of elements to create heavy elements. That would be called fusion because it's not at high temperature. So
yeah, so like as far as I know, like chemistry is not nuclear physics.
Yeah, chemistry basically deals with the electron shells around the nuclei, how they behave. The nuclei themselves are totally irrelevant for chemistry.
Not totally irrelevant. Just like
yeah,
knowing.
I mean, they are. We could theoretically describe them only as being points with a certain mass and with a certain charge. That's enough.
Yeah, yeah.
Them being composed of neutrons and
Yeah,
protons.
the structure doesn't matter, but they're not completely irrelevant. They do matter
Yeah.
to some degree.
Yeah, as I said, their structure is irrelevant.
Yeah.
I think that's what confused me, because I actually managed to follow some of the conversation, and I don't know fuck all about chemistry. So it had to be like unrelated to chemistry, as far as I know.
Well,
It was on the border between physics and chemistry, both physically in terms of the atom and sort of more of the subject.
Like let's grab me, right? Like I know fuck all about chemistry, nor physics, nor nuclear physics, etc., etc. And even I got from it that it was like not chemistry but rather something else. So yeah.
I think it's pretty telling. Like one thing that's pretty telling was towards the end here when he said, after you said that you're dealing with electron volts, not volts. He basically said, "Oh, so we need some way to some way to convert it."
Yeah.
Which is like, I don't think he actually understood what you actually said.
For those who don't understand, electron volts is basically a unit of energy. Yeah, basically,
it's a bad name.
Yeah, it's indeed a bad name. The name comes from if you have an electron and you pass it through an electric field with a potential difference of 1 volt, then the electron will have 1 electron volt of kinetic energy afterwards. That's the definition of an electron volt.
Yeah.
And the reason that this is useful is because when you're dealing with atomic numbers, doing this entire thing in joules would be really annoying because the numbers would be really small. So an electron volt is a rather good way to calculate it.
It's not the best name because
it's a convenient unit. That's the point.
Yeah, but the name is sort of stupid because it kind of like it implies.
Yeah, it implies the voltage. That's the problem. Yeah.
Like Mr. United for the Children says, isn't it more alchemy than chemistry or physics? I see him toiling over a huge black cauldron, dropping frogtails and eyes of newt into the boiling, smoking concoction.
It's now a bad time to point out that eye of newt and frogtails are actually just code words for plants.
What? Okay.
When old like witches things talk about like these gross things like eye of newt, tails of frogs, they are actually using it. It's actually code word or like old names for specific medical herbs and stuff like that.
Still, like I pretty much see the same thing in my mind's eye, right? Like that. Oh,
Either that or him boiling another piss, which was one way someone thought he was gonna get gold. Instead, he found phosphorus.
Yeah, he found phosphorus.
Phosphorus, yeah.
Yeah. He basically concentrated urine until. Yeah, I don't know the exact process. It's just random.
Well, I'm wondering how he gets, because there's a lot of other stuff in urine, like a lot of urea.
Yeah, maybe I don't know. Maybe you boil it until there's just solid left, and then you burn that and try to.
If you heat up urea, does it then decompose into ammonia and CO2 like it does when you split it with an enzyme?
Yeah, should do it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, because both of those would.
CO2?
That's what you get. No, that's. I think it's CO2.
Give me a second.
They are talking about Betty in the chat. Oh.
If I could spell.
Also, you have missed something yesterday. Oh my god.
No. I watched.
Yeah, you watched.
Okay.
I'm
kind
of sad I didn't.
Urease breaks urease, which is an enzyme, breaks urea into but it combines it with water. That's why.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, I mean
how
the
you get it from.
the oxidation state of the carbon atom is obviously +4. So that's why it makes sense that the end result will be CO2.
Obviously. I mean, come on, who doesn't know this?
Yeah, I mean everybody knows it who has taken high school chemistry.
Well, I haven't taken high school chemistry because I'm a fucking idiot. But I do know piss
I'm gonna
fucking
post the Wikipedia
stinks.
link.
I don't actually know.
The Wikipedia link is just posted is for urease, which is literally like an enzyme that breaks down the main component of pee. It can literally cut your pee in pieces.
Yeah, no PP cutting tools.
It's
close to
a
my
chemical
PP.
katana.
So,
Well, it's
Richard,
an enzyme. That's a lot of enzymes do that kind of shit. That's what we have them for. Like our little tools and machinery and building blocks.
Yeah, they're biocatalysts. Without them, we wouldn't run.
They
the
lower.
reactions that would- they lower the activation energy of the different reactions in our body.
Yeah.
So the
If
reactions
they
that are happening wouldn't happen at the temperature and at the speed that they are without them.
Yeah, if we didn't have them, we would have to have like several, like it's a lot of degrees higher body temperature to actually function, and then we would catch on fire.
Yeah. What do you guys think about his claim that gold would be found? The gold that would be found in sewage would be an indication of the process that he described.
Yeah, it's not. No, it's not. It comes from because like sewage also just doesn't just like he said, like plants and animal, like we don't eat gold, but like a lot of sewage comes from industry as well, and gold
as I pointed out, for example, electronic waste would be one
well, not even that. Like gold is used as a catalyst in some. I think it's a catalyst. It's used in some production of some chemicals, or as a coating in some equipment where it's slowly.
As a coating, sure, but I'm currently not aware of any large-scale industrial chemical process that uses directly gold as a catalyst.
No.
Car production, I think. That they use platinum at least platinum.
I think
platinum is widely used, but gold, as far as I'm aware, not.
I think but there are a lot of like industrial things.
Yeah.
That
Plus
uses gold for stuff, and that's how it ends up in the water because that water ends up in the same sewage system as poop and pee.
Yeah, and don't forget how many newlyweds accidentally drop their ring into the toilet onto a pile of shit, and it gets flushed into the sewers.
I don't think that's the kind of gold he was talking about.
Gold is gold.
Yeah, because you could obviously see that sort of gold would be a human waste. And human waste is maybe the wrong word, but waste.
Well, also he's wrong that we don't eat gold. You can get gold snaps.
Yeah, you can get these weird gold plate thingies.
Mr. Unite for the
have you not watched? So if he wants to see someone eat gold, you can go to BuzzFeed. Like they have these crazy like a $3 thing versus a $3,000 thing, and most of the things they eat that are crazy expensive are either coated in truffle or gold. Like the actual.
So wait, can you get truffles coated in gold?
Yes,
you probably can.
Yes, no, I've watched them eat it.
What a waste of money.
There's even like I think it's the world's most expensive pizza or whatever it is, and it's topped with truffles and gold leaves. Like the entire fucking
so
thing.
Stupid. There's no.
As Mr. Unite for the Children says, Goldschlager.
Yeah.
Is I think that's a drink, right?
Yeah, it is.
Here in the Netherlands, we also have a drink which is like this strongish liquor type deal with gold in it. We call it Gold Strike. I think it's fucking disgusting.
I didn't even know Goldschläger. It's some sort of.
Yeah, it's Like I said, gold snaps.
Oh,
brand of gold snaps.
Here you go. Here's a BuzzFeed article about gold-coated things you can buy and eat.
Yeah, and we have like Gold Strike here in the Netherlands, which is this strong liquor type deal, which is disgusting, with little bits of gold leaf in it. So, yeah.
I wonder how gold. It probably doesn't taste of much.
It's probably tasteless. It's like probably like
I'm guessing
a silver coin.
Well,
It's more a texture thing than taste.
There is that, but there is also a temperature thing because
it will taste cold in the beginning, obviously.
Yeah, it will feel cold, and temperature affects your taste a lot.
Maybe it probably tastes like silver. Wait, I might have a little silver coin over here. Give me a second.
Yeah, I also have a silver coin. Let's suck on it.
No, I don't think it's gonna taste like silver because silver is a lot more reactive than.
Yeah, sure, it's more reactive, but I doubt it's reactive enough to do a reaction on your tongue.
Doesn't silver oxidize on your tongue ish?
Oh,
I don't know if it does.
Probably one of us in the chat is married. I'm not. That's for damn sure. To those who are married here in the chat and in the hangout, start chewing on your wedding rings. Have fun. and don't forget, chew hard enough till it bends and breaks.
Well, you're actually like most wedding rings aren't made of pure gold because that would be too pliable. So
yeah,
usually they're mixed with either copper or silver.
My dad actually has a ring that is made out of so pure gold that he can't actually wear it anymore because it's like it's deformed, right?
I want
actual gold is surprisingly soft.
Yeah, you can take the ring and you can essentially squeeze it flat if you want. Just using your fingers.
Is it like around lead? Pretty much the same. Like
I think lead is more.
I think lead is, as far as I'm aware, is even a little softer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think lead is softer.
But I wouldn't recommend licking or biting in lead.
Yeah, ask the Romans how that.
Yeah. Microblog, do you know the story with the lead-laced wine in France?
Yeah, it makes it taste sweeter.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's
in ancient times there were actually entire landscapes of people dying because the wine was laced with lead.
Yeah, lead was used before people realized that you die from it or get seriously brain damaged. Lead tastes sweet, so people used it as a
not lead itself. Usually, well, not the metal itself. The ions, obviously.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Usually, as far as I'm aware, lead acetate is usually used as a sweetener.
What's some heavy metal poisoning between friends, though? Let's be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. I've chewed on lead when I was a kid.
Yeah, that explains a lot.
Yeah, it actually does explain why I'm a fucking retard. At least I know where my idiocracy comes from.
Oh, what is that they say? Everything in moderation? That works for us.
Except lead.
Yeah,
like everything in moderation except lead, uranium, and mercury and stuff like that. There are a lot of things that where there are no like safe level of.
I was gonna ask, like, what's the actual toxicity, or like how much do you need to consume?
Oh, let's see, lead LD50.
Because I mean, you consume some naturally anyway. Just
it's gonna. With lead, it's gonna depend on if it's bound to anything, like because there it's the same with mercury. If it like pure mercury, like the flowy metal stuff by itself is surprisingly not that toxic. But once you start combining it with organic, like so you have a mercury bound to some organic molecule, that's when you start getting problems.
So
like methyl mercury and methyl mercury.
It kind of needs like a what's it called, aggregate or some or
it basically needs something like because your body deals with organic stuff, so it kind of needs like
yeah. So it kind of hijacks the organic material and gets consumed by the cells that way.
Your body doesn't really like treat pure metals like pure non-ion metals a lot. It's not something your body is really used to handling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
if the metals are reactive enough, they will obviously react with the stomach acid. But as Microblock said, the metal itself is usually quite harmless. It's the ions that are really the problem. For example, mercury. When you drink pure mercury, the toxicity is really not so much the problem because it goes in one end and leaves on the other. But for example, organic compounds with mercury are really fucking toxic.
So stupid chemistry question. Is it related to the same reason why we have certain metals as additives / accelerants / aggravates or whatever they're called in shots like vaccines and shit? Because I know they use some form of metals.
You're thinking of aluminum. Yeah.
Yes.
No, the reason there is aluminum in it has this good name. I think it's called an adjuvant. Adjuvant. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it's basically it's in there because it triggers an immune reaction, which increases the amount of antibodies produced. It basically makes the vaccine work better.
Yeah,
it's the reason why you get can get red and sore after vaccine, because that's the immune reaction to aluminium or aluminum.
Yeah, I was wondering, like, if that's the same kind of chemical reaction as if heavy metal is hijacking some organic material, or if that's completely different.
Well, aluminum is a heavy metal. I think it's classified as a heavy metal.
And I wouldn't be so sure about that because there's no official definition of what a heavy metal actually is.
That's true, but it is aluminum is usually, like, in terms of like health and biology, it's usually classified as a heavy metal because, well, it's toxic. Like mercury isn't like aluminum or aluminium isn't, like, it's not healthy for you.
Well,
No.
I wasn't the smartest.
But it has a rather high like you need to get a lot of it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you consume pretty much all metals naturally through various foods. Well, right?
In traces, obviously, yes.
Yeah.
Well,
it's quantity, like most things.
Can I say something?
No.
Sure.
No.
Back with X, Halsey. I wasn't the smartest kid back in the day. Mercury, lead, and paint chips. So let's just keep it at that. I pretty much made sure I won't be getting old. I did some really wrong shit back in the day.
Well, getting old is overrated anyway. Like, your joints give out, your muscles fade, your head starts to wander.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck that noise. Like,
your balls drop down to your knees.
I'd rather go in a blaze of glory. Anyway, so. Woo. But yeah, blood pain.
I just read in the chat that Riley's running Hangout as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh god, what is he doing now?
No idea. I just like it was posted a while ago. That he did that.
He's probably disproving Kara somehow.
Yeah, that seems likely.
No, that doesn't. Maybe he's trying, but he actually isn't disproving her.
Okay, you know what we mean.
Yeah.
You know, how is it possible that an idiot like me is surrounded by people who are good in astronomy?
Because you know you're an idiot.
And good with engineering, biology, chemistry, etc., etc. And here I am, a person who was eating lead paint chips as a kid.
It's because you're not at the low end of the bell curve. That's the point. There will always be somebody who is more idiotic than you.
Well,
one should always strive to surround oneself with people that are smarter than you, so that you have the ability to learn.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, I used to be a very smart kid. Not anymore. I made sure of that.
Yeah, that
I'm still smarter than some of these idiots. Which makes
I'm really looking forward to actually seeing Naturehacker trying to do this experiment. Actually, do you know if he has uploaded any footage of the experiment? Because
I think you are probably the person who would know the best.
I've looked it up, but I didn't find it anywhere. At least not on his YouTube channel. I mean, he's running another website, but I haven't taken a look at that one.
Can you imagine if he accidentally just fucking started Cold Fusion?
If that fucking shit happens, you know what I would do? I would literally just throw myself a fucking roof.
If that happens, we have to steal the idea, steal the glory from him, the credit from him, because he cannot be the one who gets that fucking Nobel Prize.
Well, fucking bullshit! I will be stealing it from all of you fucking guys. I will be the smart one.
See, he would probably be some, or do it somewhere somehow that I would like just accidentally do it and have no fucking idea how to repeat it. That's something I would do, since it's related.
we would have the advantage that we would know, and we would know to publish it in peer-reviewed literature, which is how you get a Nobel Prize.
Yeah,
not by uploading it to YouTube.
But YouTube is peer-reviewed, right? Right?
No,
right?
He's in the chat.
Oh,
hello. What kind of radiation do they get emitted? Because might be possible that with plasma electrolysis you might get some X-ray radiation, but actually want to see the
it's all about energy in versus energy out.
Like isn't it like with fusion and shit? Like, isn't it like gamma radiation or something like that?
Well, it depends. So there are three main types of nuclear radiation. Alpha rays, which are helium nuclei.
Then it's
beta radiation, that is either electrons or positrons, and then gamma radiation, which are high energy photons.
Which is ionizing, right?
Yeah.
So pretty much.
And then there are that's the three main types, and you have weird subcategories and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are electron catching processes and even proton emissions and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But that's rather rare, and you only find it in really exotic isotopes. For example, there are some isotopes with a really high proton to neutron ratio where you actually get proton emission.
Yeah, but okay. So he says, I think it was X-ray, but still, that's what he says. Well, guess what, dude? Like, in the hospital, they have an X-ray machine in there, and there's no fusion reactor there.
Yeah, that's more or less my point. In order to have evidence of nuclear reactions, you actually need one of the three radiation types that I was talking about. Gammas would be optimal. But you don't get you don't only get X-rays from nuclear reactions.
Well, was it gamma is when an electrode leaves or whatever, or an electron?
No, gamma is basically that you have an abundance of energy in the nucleus. It's not the electrons. That would be a massive it would have to basically fall down and emit that.
Basically, okay. for example, in when you're talking about X-rays, what happens is that an electron, which is in a high energy state, falls down into a lower energy state, and the difference of energy is emitted as a photon. For example, as an X-ray photon. The same applies to nuclei, only that the energies are much higher. Therefore, you get a higher energy of the photon, and that's what the gamma ray is.
Well, I know what gamma is. It's some serious death. That's what it is.
Yes. Well,
relatively speaking, gammas are relatively harmless. It's the alpha rays that kill you if you get the emitter inside of you.
Yeah.
Keyword being relatively speaking.
Yeah.
It's still
the difference is gamma. Most of the gamma radiation is just gonna pass right through you.
But it's the gamma radiation that is not passing through you that kills you.
Yeah, but the amount of gamma radiation that really reacts in your body really ionizes a molecule in your body. It's relatively small.
Yeah, whereas Yeah, alpha
radiation is the
particles.
biggest problem. When you have it inside you because you, I don't know, leaked uranium or something, that really gets you.
Well, I
Because
tried.
for example, alpha radiation cannot pass paper.
Well,
So that means that all the emitted alpha particles will ionize that paper.
Well,
So is it a wavelength issue or what?
No, wait, it's a matter that alpha
It's a matter of
particles
the cross section of the.
well,
Yeah, remember alpha particles
What's it called?
are helium nuclei. They're massive things compared to the other types.
Yeah.
well,
yeah.
I teabagged the elephant's foot in Chernobyl yesterday, so got that going. Just Google what that shit is, and you will.
Yeah,
find
I know what the elephant foot is.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, the elephant foot is a piece of basically molten
Well, it's
molten
cured
nuclear
now.
fuel of the reactor.
Isn't it
serious fucking
still
death.
isn't it still technically the most radioactive place on the planet?
Probably.
Well, that fucking thing is radioactive as fuck. That's
It's so radioactive that like all the pictures that have been taken of it are like you can see that there are damages to them.
yeah.
Like when right after Chernobyl happened, they flew over the area, like they flew over the reactor and took pictures, and like the pictures were like fine when they took them, but then like it didn't take like when they actually brought them back, they were like they looked like shit because the radiation had just fucked up the film.
Yeah, it's not only photos. You can also see that in videos of helicopter footage flying over the reactor. There are these sparkling effects on the film, and that is a direct cause of radiation hitting the film.
Well,
That's exactly the reason why when in a lot
if you see
of
photos of that elephant's foot thing, like that thing looks gnarly. Like if you see like all the distortions on the picture, like you don't want to get close to that fucking thing at least 3 fucking meters. If not
You don't
more.
want to get close to the thing at least 3 kilometers.
I don't want to even get close to the sun.
Did you guys ever watch the hangout that Fiona Robertson had about it was one of like it wasn't a meltdown or anything, but it's one of the worst worst radiation related accidents that wasn't like a meltdown in I think it was Japan, where two people on their own saved the entire plant by I forget exactly how it happened, but it was something like they closed something that was highly radioactive, and they essentially became 2 case studies on extreme radiation as they died.
oh.
No, I haven't heard of that case, to be honest. It sounds interesting to at least read about it.
It's I think Fiona posted papers on it and shit, and it was like it got fucking nasty. Like one of the guy, like the skin and flesh would actually let go of his bone structure. Like
I actually got a picture of the elephant's foot, and it's an eerie fucking picture.
Yeah, I mean it's basically just a molten clump of metal that is cooled down.
No, this picture is actually it's so distorted. Like there were people standing in front of it, and it's so distorted that they are like disappearing on the picture and shit. It's fucking weird.
Do you guys know what the demon core is?
Yes, I know what that is.
The demon core was a piece of plutonium, I think, that was used in the development of hydrogen bombs.
Yeah.
And there were 2 individual accidents with that core, or with a clump of plutonium that
wasn't it like
killed the person. So somebody actually dropped two parts of plutonium together, and the reaction would start. And he kicked one of them away, but the reaction had already started so much that he would die later of radiation poisoning. And then afterwards, a group of scientists tried to recreate the accident, and the entire thing happened again.
Well, didn't that wasn't that thing like very close to what's it called, critical mass?
Yeah, it was. That's the point. They combined the two, or they dropped the. Might be a neutron reflector made of tungsten that they dropped on it, and then it would reach critical mass and start reacting. The core
But yeah.
was later used as a part of a hydrogen bomb in the Bikini Atoll, as far as I'm aware.
I'm actually sharing that picture of that elephant's foot right now,
Yeah.
and it's an eerie fucking picture. Like,
Wait, how do I screen share you?
I don't want to get close to that fucking thing. Oh, I think I just got 10,000 times the recommended amount of radiation.
How many bananas has he got?
Oh,
And
shit.
yes, bananas is a unit of radiation exposure.
Oh, that's something I should have asked Naturehacker, because he claimed in a video that he would be able to feel radiation.
Yeah.
Which fruit
I-
would feel the most radiation-y, if you know what I mean?
If you're standing on that fucking thing, you will probably feel
I've-
your genes die. So
I've heard
you
that-
probably feel the radiation.
I've heard that if you're standing close to a highly radioactive source, the air tastes metally.
Yeah, it tastes like lead.
Well,
But-
I've stood close to a bar of uranium-238, but I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, well, it depends on what.
Well,
If you're
but
curious,
remember-
one of the professors of the university where I work, he's doing a research in uranium complex chemistry, and as a source for uranium, he has simply a metal block of uranium that he stores inside a lead.
Yeah, but isn't it like
Thing.
some like you need to do a whole bunch of shit to make uranium actually dangerously radioactive?
Uranium itself is not really so dangerous
Yeah.
if you don't ingest it in some way.
Well,
But yeah?
Well, don't you have to like enrich it or something like that to make it like some serious death type of deal?
No. When you have pure uranium, the 238 isotope will kill you if you ingest it.
Well, yeah.
At least over some time, you will at least get. Well, the cancer probability goes through the roof, even in low concentrations and so forth.
Oh. Well, then again, how the fuck do I close this shit? How the hell do I stop this sharing stuff?
I have to.
It's
All right.
you had to stop sharing your screen. You were just still being presented.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that shit.
Geo controls that.
Oh, but by the way, Gio, if just in case you haven't seen it, I linked the name. Tokaimura is what it's called. It's
Tokaimura, okay.
Yeah, that thing, because I remember Fiona had a hangout about it 2 years ago. I linked the short video she made. She also had a hangout that lasted for like 2 or 3 hours, and it one of the reasons it's nasty is because it essentially after the events had transpired, they essentially violated everything you can even remotely consider to be human rights, and turned the guy into a living experiment.
Oh yeah,
consent.
I've seen that. I've seen that. I've seen
Holy
pictures
shit.
of that guy. Oh no!
It took 80 something days.
Yeah,
to
87 days. That man, like the skin was falling off his bones. It was that fucking gnarly.
Yeah, like they
Oh,
couldn't
fuck.
they couldn't get skin grafts to stick. Like it was just.
It was just falling off. I've seen that. I've actually read that shit. Like radiation poisoning is one hell of a drug. That's some scary fucking shit.
Yeah, in that case, the most humane thing would probably to shoot this guy in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
I don't remember the full story anymore, but there were 2 people that was exposed to it, and one of them died relatively quickly. The other
Yeah.
one,
Well-
unfortunately, lived a long ass time.
well, he didn't live a long ass time. They kept him alive.
Well,
Like
yeah,
like they did everything to keep that man alive just to see what the radiation would do to him.
yeah, they
so-
would pump him full of fluids to essentially keep him alive. It's
So,
Yeah, it's
according to Wikipedia, one of the guys was exposed to 17 sieverts of radiation and the other one to 10. Usually, a dose of 8 sieverts is thought to be lethal.
yeah. Well,
And 10 sieverts, it's practically a death sentence.
well, that man, like I've seen pictures of it. Like he was lying on this fucking wreck type deal, right? And then you just see a guy lying there without a fucking skin. It's pretty much that what this whole Tokai Mura type deal was. Like he was just a a man skinned alive by radiation.
Yeah.
It's gnarly. I've seen it. Oh,
So this guy was called Masato Shinohara.
yeah. Well, he's now Masato skinned alive, Hara.
No, not anymore.
No, he now did.
Well, fortunately, he's
Yeah,
dead.
like
He should have just been killed.
yeah.
But it's one of those cases where so a lot of medical knowledge has been gained through doing really fucking nasty shit just
Oh,
like
yeah.
this.
Well,
But it's still
think about-
atrocious to treat someone like they
Oh, yeah.
did.
Well,
But I mean, it's an insight. I don't think we've ever had that kind of insight before or since. Not that that justifies it in any way.
well, not at least not human
But-
trials.
Yeah.
Like let's be honest, like in World War II, like the what Joseph Mengele did, like that fucking shit was also fucking atrocious. But we did learn a lot
Well,
about.
we didn't really learn a whole lot about it from what he did.
Some things we did.
Because he was yeah, but for the most part he was working under basically like Nazi assumptions about how genetics and inheritance worked.
True. But the things that he did find, he did record them, and people were able to get that.
Yeah, we did learn learn things is a like a big word, but like some of it was interesting
Yeah.
in some ways.
Yeah, the
like
question is it morally okay to actually use
it's
the data?
not.
In my opinion, yeah, definitely not in my opinion.
No,
Well,
absolutely.
no. Sorry, no. It's more wrong to do it, but it's not more wrong to use the data. I can see a problem in the data is still data. The data still shows what it shows. There's no problem in using it just because it came from something nasty. Like we wouldn't need to use this data today because we have data on those subjects that have been acquired through ethical means.
Well, moral of the story though is it's that a lot of our medical knowledge come from very unethical ways of acquiring those that knowledge.
Nah, most of our medical knowledge doesn't really come from that. Like it either comes from an age where those things weren't seen as morally wrong, or they come from a modern age where there is there
That's
are
a technique to gain
like
data.
the Helsinki what is it called? The Helsinki something. There are like rules that protect you during human trials.
Yep.
It's called the Helsinki something.
And then some guy got irradiated to high hell, and there he is lying on a fucking bed, stripped of all of his fucking skin, which is nightmare fuel.
Yeah.
Declaration of Helsinki.
Like, I wouldn't even be able to do something like that to someone. Something that fucking bad.
It's
But it is true that a lot of medical knowledge has been learned through not a lot, but we've learned some fair few things through accidents.
It's so when I talked about that, I'm thinking like we're talking like really basic stuff, like gutting people to see how the organs work, cutting people up alive to see like how does the heart beat, how does one move, and that kind of thing. Like back in the ye wee days of call it medical science in quotation marks.
Well, we did that type of shit like back in the what's it called, Dark Ages and shit.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, it from what I understand, it also happened during some of the more modern wars, just to see the effect of like chemical weapons and so on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, once you're in a war, you suddenly are like, I mean, you already have planning to kill people, so suddenly the morals become a bit more loose.
Yeah.
Well, think about like in World War II, the Japanese actually did shit like that, and the Nazi also did shit like that, but not with chemical weapons.
I've heard horror stories about some of or what happened to certain POWs. Yeah,
Yeah.
Well, the
it's
Japanese
not
were
fun.
fucking monstrous with some of those fucking camps of theirs. God damn! Like if you think about what those people did back in those times, Jesus fuck.
It's like so. Always keep a gun on the inside of your jacket so you can shoot yourself if you get captured.
Yeah.
Or
Or the cyanide capsule. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wow.
there's a reason why that is actually an option for people that go into like really dangerous areas.
Well, it won't be wrong. Like I'd rather get like a cyanide capsule than being used for human trials in
Oh
some
yeah.
godforsaken
But I
hell.
I think actually I would much rather shoot myself than take a cyanide pill, because cyanide is not a fun way to die.
No,
Well,
but it's still better than being
I-
like gutted alive or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah, now we're at the old discussion, which method of suicide is the best one?
well, no, but seriously,
Taking an overdose or something. Taking an overdose of something, you fall asleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
barbiturates or something is probably the
but-
best way.
Micro, think of it, right? Or it's like cyanide, or it's getting, let's say, fucking eaten alive by rats.
Well, eating alive by rats would not be fun.
Yeah, so I would shoot for the cyanide. It's a lot.
Oh yeah,
faster.
no. I was comparing shooting myself and cyanide.
I would go for shooting myself, I think.
Yeah,
I've played
no,
enough
but-
Dishonored to know that getting eaten alive by rats is not fun.
No, it's not. But it's just fucked. People are awful.
Dr. Phobos, I think we have to have a scientific study for this. Yeah, good luck finding volunteers.
It's like
No. Good luck getting it past the ethics committee.
what's
All right.
Like,
what's the sample size?
like don't get me wrong though. Like I'm not against like human trials really if it's done to the right people, like people who are condemned to death anyway. Like let's say let's say,
It's still unethical.
but hold on, like they can choose. Like okay, you can sell your body to, let's say, science, and your family gets the money, or you just go on the fucking chair, you get roasted, and
Am I right? I think you have a misconception. When you donate your body to an institution,
It's
for
free.
It's after you're dead.
yes,
yeah,
but
first of all, it's after your death,
I
but
know.
it isn't necessarily free at all. Here in Germany, some institutions, some hospitals, some universities actually take a fee, and not give. Yeah, a fee.
yeah, no, but
They don't do.
Well,
They
I
don't
mean,
take a
like-
fee here.
like
I'm
let's-
listed.
hold on,
as,
guys, hold on, shut up, hold on. Like what I mean, right, is let's say you are condemned to death, right? And you can choose, okay, you're going to get on the chair, roasted. No contribution to your family, no contribution to society whatsoever. You get roasted, dead, into the ground, or on a fucking mass grave. That's about it. Or you can choose, okay, trials, okay, you will fucking suffer like a bitch. Your family will get money, plus you are contributing to society, and you do
It's
something
still
good behind it.
it's still unethical. You wouldn't like.
You give those people then the choice at least, and then
No. Even
ethically,
like,
it's
still-
a lot different.
No, it's still unethical. You would never get this past an ethics committee.
No, but at
Also,
least
it would be
that's how I
illegal.
would see it.
Like you would get a.
At
like,
least
it
that's
would
how
be-
I would see it.
This is the weirdest. This is actually a weirder conversation that I had imagined for today. and remember, I was talking to the crazy cousin of Trevor Phillips.
No, but seriously,
Trevor.
like I do not see a problem with that if people get the choice if they are condemned to
I mean,
death
you're
anyway.
allowed to experiment on yourself. There's no rules. Like you can do all the horrible shit to yourself. Like
Yeah, wasn't that infamous poison squad?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I personally think that people, when someone is condemned to death, like that they can choose. Okay, I can do human trials. Okay, I live a little bit longer, but I suffer like a bitch. But my family gets money, and I might contribute to society.
Yeah, but
or
Mariah,
I get roasted.
wouldn't it then make more sense to be executed by organ donation, for example?
Yes.
Well, that's an option. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if they do like fucking trials, like you will get like fucking anesthetics, that type of shit. Of course, like fuck that shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's fucked up anyways.
It's fucked up, but I personally
the problem is that if you're able to do the research in a more ethical way, no one is ever gonna it's not ever gonna be approved. Like Naturehacker actually made one good point when he's talked about the animal research. Like the reason you have to as he said, you have to prove that you need to do it in rats and you can't do it in lower organisms because there are very, very strict rules.
Yeah, basically, you try to use the type of animal that is the least sentient.
Yeah, but still able to give you the results you need. And
yeah, valid information from the results. Yeah,
I think it's only 10% of like medical results that are found in rats that actually end up to like in lab rats. Like that actually end up turning becoming useful results in humans.
Okay. Out of curiosity, what would you use if you can't use a rat?
A monkey.
Well, humans are big monkeys.
Wouldn't that be a step down?
Rhesus monkey.
Rhesus monkeys.
Yeah,
okay.
and well, humans are big apes, so why not use like a condemned convict? Just saying. I do not see the difference in a rhesus monkey or a fucking
because they're humans, because they're a member of our own species, because they're high.
Yeah, not only that, but the person can actually tell you that is sentient.
Yeah,
it's the same ethical thing as in why it's okay to eat other shit but not people, because it's a member. Or
I do not see a problem in using a convict who is going to get the chair anyway. I do not see the problem in that, but at least give them the choice and give their families a compensation.
Well, like, the idea is still that it almost doesn't matter what kind of crimes you've done, you still keep your innate rights. Or for the most part, there's obviously exceptions.
Well, in my fucking opinion,
I think there shouldn't be any exceptions. You get to keep your human rights no matter what.
No, I agree, but I'm saying like in practice,
fuck that
right?
noise. Like,
there's certain crimes where you.
In my opinion, a pedophile should not have any fucking rights and should instantly be used for that shit.
No, but
fuck those guys.
The problem with saying that is that first of all, you're denying someone else's humanity, but there is a big problem in doing that, because if you then violate his human rights and it turns out he was innocent,
yes,
you now stand with a giant, like, you are now the bad guy.
Oh yeah.
Then the second point is who is to decide who loses his human rights and who isn't? I mean, that's a fucking slippery slope right there.
I know.
And this is one of the arguments why, like, here in Norway, we don't actually have life in prison or capital punishment, and that's because of that.
Yeah, it's the same over here. I think aren't we all Europeans over here? Should be.
Yeah, we all are.
We're all Europeans. And sorry, but I do not agree with that type of shit. Like, personally, I think yes, we should have a death penalty here in Europe.
But what's the point? It's not even a good punishment. Like, if you want to punish someone, spending a life in prison is a far greater punishment than getting killed.
Yeah, I mean, Michael,
getting killed
That's actually
getting
quite
off
debatable
easy.
in my opinion. But
Yeah.
the main point is that why I am against the death penalty is we can't 100% make sure that somebody's really guilty. And even if he killed just one single inmate who turns out to be innocent, I simply can't support that.
Yeah.
Well, see. So there are certain cases like just to bring it up, just because it's still kind of a relevant case. It's you remember the mass shooting we had in Norway?
Breivik, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, with
So-
that right-wing dude, like the
Yeah,
Nazi
right.
dude.
Yeah, so there's a lot of people that advocated the death sentence for him simply
Oh,
for
yeah.
the reason that like it's not a question who did it.
Well,
Right.
just fucking roast his fucking ass.
That is a closed case because
Oh.
like he was the only one on the island with the kids, right?
Right.
So it's like it's a closed case. We know who it was and we know why he did it and we know how he did it, right?
Then
So
fucking
it's
roast his fucking ass. It's simple as that.
yeah. So and then it becomes a different question, right? It's so one, if you remove him, as in kill him, he's gone, but he can then become a symbol for someone else. Right. So and then the counter argument is right now he's essentially continuing to be sort of like assist to society, right? He's still hogging resources. He's still being a nuisance to the society. So there's like you can see it from both sides.
I know what you mean. Like like they don't want him to become a fucking martyr. Of course I know that, but I personally think pretty much this. Fuck that guy. Roast his fucking ass so he stops breathing my fucking air. That's fucking why. Like, fuck that guy. Fuck people like that.
Yeah, but then also again, it becomes the question like if you allow it for one person, then you have to draw the line somewhere. Like when do we allow it? When do we disallow it? And then just like Gio said, it becomes a question of what if it's one innocent person?
Mhm.
It's a slippery slope.
There was a statistic in America, I think 2 or 3 years ago, that about 4 or 5% of everybody on death row was innocent.
Yeah, which is
That's fucking disturbing.
Which is especially like talking a country like the States where they execute what is like a couple of dozen people every year.
Yeah, I think 20, 30 or so per year. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So if like let's say 5% to take a relatively high number, that's still we're talking a person or two a year, right?
I know.
So it's
but still, like, I do not see a problem with using people who get the death penalty anyway to use them as lab rats.
Well, so the problem becomes the slippery slope thing, because if you start killing people for say murder, right? Okay. Well, how do you then quantify murder in all cases? Because how can you prove in a case where it's uncertain if it was just an accidental killing or something that was actually intentional, i.e. murder, right? Mm-hmm. Because if then it becomes a question of beyond a shadow of a doubt. Mm-hmm. So it's always that slippery slope, and all of a sudden, if the slope is steep enough, you can find yourself on the wrong end of it, and now you don't want that enabled anymore, right? So it's
also there is the thing like a prison sentence or like a fine. Both of those are reversible. Like you can get out of prison again. You can get the money from the fine back. You can get your life back. Like doing a punishment that's irreversible is a problem in itself.
Oh no, I don't see a fucking problem with that. Like that fucker who did that mass shooting in Sweden. Like he fucking killed a whole. I think it was Sweden or
Norway.
Whatever. It fucking Norway.
Norway, yeah.
Yeah. Like that fucking guy, right? He fucking killed a bunch of fucking kids. Like he killed a bunch of kids who he took their life without their fucking consent. Like,
yes.
No, that's also fucking irreversible. Fuck that guy. Seriously, I do not see a problem.
But wait, shouldn't we be better? Shouldn't we be better than him?
No.
Yeah, that's actually quite important thing.
Yes.
That we condemn
I do not
without using it as a revenge.
I do not
It's-
see a problem with that, because if we use his ass as like a human trial, he killed a bunch of kids. Now he gets the consequences, which is, guess what? You're now a lab monkey. Enjoy your stay.
Well, so that was actually a point that was brought up during the trial, like saying like you're not the person that gets to decide for the society how we should.
Well,
how we
he
should
was
treat you.
he
And
is
also
not someone to
very-
decide for those kids to die. Is he now?
regarding the trial,
No.
also, I think the far greater punishment for him would have been to lock inside the mental asylum.
yeah, so
Because I think he wanted to be seen as fully responsible for what he did, and
Yes.
there were some arguments in the court whether he was mentally insane.
yes,
So
so
if I were the
And it was
judge, I would
deemed that he
probably
wasn't.
put him into a mental asylum.
yeah, he refused to accept any accusations of him being mentally unstable. He
Well,
was
didn't they-
mentally sane.
Well,
Like,
they did
he
have
himself
they did
said it.
tests. Well,
Yeah,
they
they-
also
But also he himself saying that he is mentally stable doesn't really qualify as an argument.
Yeah,
I
no,
mean,
no, no, no. I'm just
that's
saying like
that's
he-
the question. That's the problem with insane people. They don't know that they're insane.
well, the point being was he wouldn't accept that as a line of defense from his lawyer, right? So, but
All right.
but what I didn't get to finish was saying that you also got to view it from like a third party perspective. So what's honestly a worse punishment? Like let's say you plan to do something, and let's say you don't really care much about your life anyway, right? Because a lot of the people that do these kind of things don't value life in the same sense that most people do. Now, what then is the greatest punishment? That you rob someone from all their freedom and essentially force them to live out their life, or just end it? And it's also the same for someone that's watching them. What's honestly worse, watching someone rot away, or someone ceasing to exist and you can now use them as a symbol? So it's like there's a lot of nuances to this.
No, I'm a simple person. I personally think a person who does that type of shit does not fucking deserve to breathe my fucking air.
My initial reaction was yes, just like why didn't they just fucking shoot him on the island?
Yeah,
Well,
because he
don't
surrendered
shoot
and
him
put
down,
his
because
weapon
that's
away.
fast.
That's the point.
well,
Yeah,
they've
right.
also
As soon
been
he
pretty-
isn't an immediate danger to the police officers anymore, they can't. They can't
No.
shoot him.
Also, shooting him would mean, like, at that point they didn't know if he was acting alone or not.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly,
Yeah,
right?
It's stupid to shoot him before you know what's going on.
But it's so easy, right, to have the initial reaction of just kill the fucker.
Well, yeah,
But as
we should
time
be
has,
better than him.
yeah, like as time has gone on, I'm now in the camp of just keep him keep him like an old rag, let him rot.
What is his prison sentence exactly? 20 years or something?
It's 20. So in origin it's called förvaring, which essentially means that he has a sentence of 21 years, and he has a minimum period of, I believe it's 15 years before he's even eligible to talk about a reduced sentence. But
It's more or less the same system here in Germany. When you are convicted of murder, you have at least 15 years, and in especially hard cases, at least 25 years.
Yeah, and so the thing is,
listen to this fucking shit. That motherfucker killed a bunch of fucking kids.
no,
gets released in
Amaria,
15 years.
I'm not.
No, he doesn't get released. That's the point. It's
No. I didn't get to finish. So the word förvaring means that when like the minimum time is spent, because a prison year isn't a full calendar year, right? So when the minimum time is spent, he now has to sit in front of essentially a new jury, which consists of prison personnel, lawyers, psychiatrists, doctors, and so on, and they need to evaluate the quote unquote candidate or inmate if he's eligible for release, and if they deem not eligible, he now has to serve a new sentence of 5 years. And after 5 years, this process repeats, and it can repeat ad infinitum.
Indefinitely.
Yes,
Yeah.
so he can sit and most likely will sit for the rest
Yeah, he
of
will.
his.
Like
his
the only chance he has of getting out is once he gets old and gets too sick to be in the prison, and even then he will probably be in some kind of special institution.
Yeah,
Yes.
the system here is basically that after 25 years that you've served, you will get into another kind of prison, which is not as strict as the other one. By the way, the word for that is also quite close to the Norwegian word. It's called Verwahrung.
It's
Yeah,
probably
it's the same in Danish, forvaring.
it's probably the exact same word.
We have
Germanic languages unite.
Yes.
we call it different here in the Netherlands, but we have the same.
Well, Dutch doesn't count because Dutch are weird.
Don't eat the back
It's a
thing.
linguistic smoothie.
But personally, no, fuck that guy. To just use him as a guinea pig. Fuck it. Fuck him. No.
Yeah.
No.
Right after the case, I would have agreed with you. I no longer do.
No. Fuck that dude. Like,
I mean that the death penalty here in Germany is off the table because of the constitution. Literally, the first article in our constitution says that human dignity cannot be taken away from somebody. So
you know the first. So I have to look this up again, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct in saying this.
Yeah, I'm looking up the Danish constitution because
I'm pretty sure the first point on ours is that the king is exempt from all other laws.
what?
What
the fuck?
well,
Yeah,
he's
it's
not here.
so it is actually written in our laws and or constitution that the king is exempt from all laws. So essentially, the king. I mean, obviously, that would be overthrown if the king decided to go on like a murderous rampage in the capital. That would obviously be changed, but it would be changed after the fact.
Here, our king does not have that freedom. Like, if he fucking would do something like that, he will fucking burn.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
not
translation of the first German article is human dignity shall be inviolable. To respect and protect it shall be the duty of all state authority.
The first one in ours is pretty simple. It's basically just, this constitution, it applies in the Kingdom of Denmark, which is a sensible way to start out.
Well, here, if he tries that shit, he's done for. Like, he will be roasting. Well, not roasting, but chilling in prison for a long fucking time.
Yeah, how high is the prison sentence in the Netherlands?
Same. Exactly the same.
So at least about 20 years plus prolonged
Well,
stay.
actually, if you are convicted of murder, there's a good chance you will be walking in 3 fucking years. Yep.
Jesus fuck, where do I find these laws written in normal Norwegian? Holy shit, this is written in the
You
old...
don't. You don't.
The troubles of having reformed your language.
So, you know, Micro, you might actually be able to read this better than I do because it's almost Danish.
Yeah, it's let's see.
I went to see this as well to see if I can translate it.
I'm not sure what
there it is.
follower is.
What the fuck?
For løfter, that it means to promise or to do as your word. Like
Here it's really a noun here because have is
a promise?
as.
We call that a belofte here in the Netherlands.
All right, I can't read anything of that.
I can sort of glean the meaning out of it.
Forlover har makt til å søke hovedmannen som han forlover for gjelder når han til han en lovlige sitt forløfte oppsagt haver, og han ikke betaler kreditoren. Like, it's just... like,
okay, the person who promises, the person who makes a promise has the power to...
I think it's the person that... He has the power to decide when the promises to be repaid or whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's worded so fucking weird.
I don't think it's even promised. I think it's actually it's a loan.
Yeah,
It's debt. It's debt.
it's just like, please, I want it in actual Norwegian.
It's your own fault for like reforming your language.
It's also like contrary to. So this is funny. I've brought this up before because you know how they say that the U.S. is a Christian country, right? Which it's inherently not. Norway is by law.
Yeah. So is Denmark.
Yeah.
Oh,
So it's the
I'm not.
Netherlands.
I'm not sure about Germany right now, because for some reason we still have the Christian holidays are still national holidays,
Yeah, but
Yeah,
you're
same.
not.
which I'm completely
But-
against. So
yeah,
Germany is not completely secular. That's the problem. For example, it states that religious teaching in schools is by definition okay, but the problem is that in most times only Christian education is available.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure the German constitution doesn't include the line, the evangelical Lutheran church shall be the established church of Denmark and
Oh.
as such shall be supported by the state.
Well, it wouldn't have the line referring to Denmark, obviously.
Yeah, but
No, I don't think there's something like that that states that a particular religion is
here's a fun one. The king, or in this case the queen, really should say the monarch, shall be a member of the evangelical Lutheran church. So in other words, the monarch is forced to have a specific religion.
Yeah, same here.
Which is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, it's Lutheran here as well. I think we got that from Denmark.
Yeah.
And
Let's just say that Denmark and Sweden have had a lot of wars, and it's mainly been what we've been having a war over. Yeah, is who owned Norway.
We've pretty much always been the bottom bitch.
Well, that's pretty obvious. Why? Because until you struck oil, you were a fairly poor country. That's why so much of Norwegian cuisine is based on
it's farmers' food.
It's farmers' food.
Sheep and pig and cow, essentially all of it, and fish.
So
potatoes.
you were so lucky you didn't take the bet, because I actually found that dish based on lung mixed with heart.
Oh God.
Yeah, no thanks.
And the Bavarian name is Saures Lüngel mit Herz.
How about you fucking people eat something normal, like sauerkraut or something?
We eat sauerkraut, lots of it.
It's pretty normal.
Oh, by the way,
which country was it? I think it was Denmark or Sweden or something with that fermented herring shit.
That's Sweden. That's surströmming.
Yeah, how about no? Like, can you guys?
It's actually supposed to not taste that bad. It's just that it smells awful.
Just don't eat something that smells
and also you eat it with raw onion, you eat it with other things that will mask the taste and smell.
Raw onion isn't that bad.
I don't want to eat something that would taste like my mother's pussy.
How do you know how? I don't want to know.
Oh, but by the way, I was wrong. I found 1814 is when Norway, as the country it is right now, was funded.
It's older than Germany.
It's the 17th of May is our national day. So I was wrong. It's not the first. It's the 5th. It says kongens person er hellig. Han kan ikke lastes eller anklages. Ansvarligheten påligger hans råd. Which essentially means that you cannot touch the king as a person, and all responsibility is by his own judgment.
That's one of those things where, but if he went out and killed someone, he would get punished.
Yeah,
he would get punished, and that law would be changed. But
is there a mechanism to punish him?
Yes. Change the law.
Yeah, change the law. You can also, I think, you can remove his royal status.
Yeah,
but that's a whole nother fucking bureaucracy hell.
I mean, technically, you can always, like, at least here in Denmark, we could theoretically just like have a vote and change the constitution, and like from one day, like on a certain date, they the royals would stop being royals. And
Dude, okay, so out of the first 10 laws, let's just say it's the 10 commandments, right?
mhm.
Law 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, including 11, 12, 13, 14. Yeah, okay, so out of the first 15, law 3 to 14 is all about the king.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go Control F and just search king and see how many times it appears.
It's like in almost every law.
Yeah. Okay, excluding the first one because that it says kingdom, but 49 places in the Danish constitution mentions king.
Oh, it's a hell of a lot more than that.
Oh, okay. Okay. A few of them are also like the end of making. So.
But many of them, at least in the Norwegian one, is essentially just like, this does not apply for the king.
It's kind of weird that it still says king. It's still like technically like, I'm assuming by king here they mean monarch, because otherwise all of these laws wouldn't apply, because we don't have a king at the moment.
So our first law is actually Kongeriket Norge er et fritt, selvstendig, udelelig og uavhengig rike. Dets regjeringsform er innskrenket og arvelig monarkisk, which means it's free, independent, undivisible, and independent. And the government will have limited power and will have a monarchy that passes by blood, essentially. That's the first rule. And then the second law is that
that's basically our second.
Yeah. And the second is that our foundation for values will be our Christian and humanitarian,
which are pretty weird considering that those two things are.
They're kind of mutually exclusive if you go by the book.
So, guys, I'm going to close the hangout, at least the streaming.
Yeah.
We can discuss more if you want, but there's no point in continuing doing it live on YouTube. So, for everybody who's still here, thanks for watching. See you soon. Hopefully. Or not. It depends. Bye.